What's going on, guys? Evil Dragon here, back with another video. Today, we're going to be looking at Dead by Daylight's biggest problem, which is a killer, and that is the Skull Merchant. The Skull Merchant now has been out for a couple months. I believe she came out, March, April, something like that, of 2023, and it's now August as I'm making this video and recording it. So I just want to go over what her problems are. Well, some of her problems is she's been buffed when she really should be nerfed. I have a survivor game here and a killer game here, playing against and playing as a Skull Merchant. And like some of the biggest problems I want to, mention and look at are the fact that she can completely 3-gen, and that's okay. I mean, when I played, I lost 3 gens in the matter of like 2 minutes. I still won the game because I noticed the 3-gen. I'm like, okay, let me guard this. The Skull Merchant I went against was like, hey, I can't 3-gen, but we're on the pigs map, the Gideon meat plant. So, what I didn't know about the Skull Merchant, but what I know now, is her drones go right through walls. They go right through floors and ceilings. So as an example, say you're playing on the Silent Hill map, the Midwich High School, and, the drone is on the second floor. If the drone is active and you're on the first floor, you can be exposed. Eventually it'll turn off, right? And, you have to wait for it to go ahead and start doing the spin thing where, you have to get close enough and you can turn off the drone. If that happens and you are on the first floor and the drone's on the second floor, you're fine. You don't get caught, you don't get exposed, nothing like that. But otherwise, what they can do, say there's a gen upstairs and there's a gen downstairs, they can guard both gen with one single drone. And I only learned that recently. For example, as well, these areas are huge. They might be able to reach all sorts of different loops. You can pretty much enclose an entire T&L wall with just one drone, and that completely removes that area if you're trying to run it around. It can encase a jungle gym. It can encase all sorts of crazy things. And this resolves in a game where I played, where I just camped. Sort of. I didn't camp anybody in the hook, not at all. What I did was I camped the gens. I mean, I had overcharge that, makes gens lose progress over time faster, up to 130%. And of course, if you try and touch the gen, there's a really hard skill check that happens that if I'm right there and you miss, the gen loses instantly 5%. Of course, I believe I also had like Merciless Storm, and I had a couple other perks that just made it really annoying. And what I do when I play the Skull Merchant, I'm not a big fan of playing her, but when I do play her, I don't look to defend, I immediately look for the closest 3-gen, and I guard it by putting a drone on every single gen. Why? Well, because I can let even 4 gens fail. I can let every other gen fail, and as long as I just stay in that area constantly kicking gens, hitting people, kicking gens, paying attention like that, I can win. It's very simple, very easy. So without further ado, we'll dive into why I think she's overpowered. We'll go into the survivor match first, and then right after we'll go into the killer match. Do I think she's S tier? No. Do I think she's A tier? High A tier? Heck yes. So as you can see here, the drone, as I look right after, is right upstairs. But the orange area effect goes right downstairs. And I was like, this is weird. Can I touch this? And I did. I want to know what would happen. So as I touched it, I was like, what? I'm being exposed. I have the effects that the add-ons are. Yeah, you can be affected when that thing is on a completely different floor. For whatever reason. I really don't think that's fair. Because there's so many maps where this would benefit. Father Campbell's Chapel, Grove Sprint Asylum, Gideon Meat Plant here, the old Stranger Things map, like Hawkins Laboratory, if that was still a thing, Midwich High School, Dead Dog Saloon. I can keep going, but that's the thing, it goes right through the floor. So again, whether this was on the basement and I was upstairs, I could still be affected by that as long as it's not spinning around. The drone's in its dormant, sort of unactive state. Like that right now, that's spinning around there. If I was underneath it, I'd be fine, but the moment it gets active, I get exposed. So if I was doing a generator there, I'd be affected, and it would be terrible. So I kept that little clip up there to show you, even with the smallest little area effect, if you're in it, you start getting exposed and you get whatever add-on effects they have, whether you're hindered, you have the oblivious status effect, whatever. Now right here is a screenshot of something similar, except the Skull Merchant Killer that I was going against at the time clearly calculated wrong, and that's why it was just barely out of it. And so, yeah, even if that thing was maybe a 1 meter, half a meter bigger, I probably would have started being affected by the drone. Now, I've been talking about the drones a lot. Yeah, because they're really powerful. I mean, here's another example of why. If you decide to get rid of one of these drones, they take a little bit, to come back. So if you start off with the 4 basic drones, you have 3 for a while, and if the 3 are up, you can't really get them more. But say, for an example, there's a generator that's being progressed very well then, because, a drone was on it, and a survivor got rid of it. Then you just grab one of your other drones, you can put it right back on the area where the drone was. Really broken. Just as well, you see the Jake there in the left corner? He has a little circle around him that just disappeared. That's a tracker. If the killer wasn't busy trying to already kill one of our teammates or on a chase with another teammate, she'd be tracking him with a little radar. I pretty much can see the entire map. It's a little yellow dot, little yellow blip, and it shows you wherever you are until that tracker runs out. There are add-ons to make it last longer. I don't quite know the base timer for it. But yeah, it's just a timer that lasts, I say, pretty long, especially when I play. And you could just go, say you're in basement, that's where you hook someone. In, let's say, Father Campbell's Chapel, it's in the shack. You can go from there all the way to the other side where the circus is, and boom, you find this person. Like, what? Oh. Bruh. Let's watch really quickly what the Skull Merchant did right there. Now, if you didn't catch it, she did 2 things. One, she obviously knew about the mind game, so she forced me to go around. Okay, sure. But 2, the moment I went for the pallet, that definitely would have been a hit. I was rewatching that a couple times. I was like, yeah, that definitely would have been a hit with a lunge. But instead, she went around. Why? She knew I couldn't vault back over. You see where that drone was placed? I can vault back over because my buttons overlapped. So the vault button and the button to do the drone overlapped. Whether she knew that or didn't, I'm going to assume she did because that's right where it was placed. That's what one of the godliest pallets in the entire map was not broken. Like, that's a god room, right? You have that pallet, and then you have a pallet over right where I was at the start. There's a window. That's god room. And that pallet was not broken. Instead, there was a drone placed right in front of it. I guess she knew. And you cannot clearly vault that, as I just showed you, because I interact with the drone instead, allowing her to get me. And she clearly knew that as she played right around using that to her knowledge. That is insanely broken. The fact that you can just block off pallets because you can't vault back over. Say you did this in a map like RPD, and you did this, I don't know, you did this on the massive god pallet right in the main entry hall, the one by the stairs. If you were to block that off from one side, say your Skull Merchant, when you use Brutal Strength, or you use, I don't know, you have Fire Up, maybe you have the one Dredge perk that, they drop the pallet and they vault it. Who knows, maybe you have Spirit Fury, and they're trying to vault back over, but they can't because there's a drone there. And so, by the time they're done, you break it with Brutal Strength. It's already broken, and because maybe they don't realize, something like that. It just really, it pretty much eliminates God pallets because you just put a drone right in the way, and boom, you can't vault back over, especially in a chase. Once again, that's kind of the final thing I wanted to show in this Survivor match, because we did lose. But again, pretty much, I go do the gen, the drone goes back on, and so I have to leave. I then wait for about 30 seconds before the drone goes off, and I go back in, and they just turn the drone on. Mind you, it's on an entirely different floor. It's upstairs, above me, and I'm being exposed from that. Plus, if I did get fully exposed, it means Killer Instinct would happen, and she'd know exactly where I was. Absolutely game-breaking. I mean, how is that fair? So as you can see, I immediately go and set up a 3-gen before going to see where other people are. And someone goes right into my 3-gen, so I immediately turn back around to go and protect these 3-gens. In the process of me chasing her, they got 2 gens done. Mind you, this is Suffocation Pit, meaning this map is very long, like a rectangle, and the gens are either on the right side or the left side, and they're getting all the gens done on the left side. Very closely after, just as well, I realized this Nick Cage just showed me, well, my drone placement's in the wrong place, so let me just pick it right back up, and I can just put it right back down, sure. Just as well, they ended up getting the 3rd gen done very shortly after, but because they didn't want to 3-gen themselves, which was smart, which I had already been protecting, they decided to go ahead and do one of the gens that I had droned up, which resorted to the game being over quite quickly. Now, if you want to see what I'm doing, clearly, I go for the hit, and he's clearly wanting me to, go into a chase, so he's taking me all the way to the other side of the map. But instead, I just simply kick the gen to get overcharge on, so it starts going down slowly, plus a base 2.5% when you kick it. I put my drone back up to protect the gen. I then go over where I also notice another drone is gone. I kick that gen and reset up my drone so the overcharge is set up on 2 gens. I have all my drones back, and I'm back to guarding it. It's not fun for the survivors, and it just makes for a somewhat easy but difficult win because of how long it takes. This game went on for something like 25 minutes, I believe. And eventually, I think they just got bored. If you want me to explain my build, here it is. Merciless Storm to kind of slow down people doing gens. Like, I'm not going to kick any other gen really besides these three that I have protected. So right at the start of the game, if the Kate hadn't, shown that she was around the area with all my drones, and I'd gone to the other places, Merciless Storm really would have helped to keep the pressure on. What it also does is say I'm near people and they are somehow getting a drone gen done. That's what I call them, drone gens. If they got them to 90%, and say Merciless Storm takes place, I can kind of watch it and then kick it right after for overcharge. I then have Hex Plaything, that if I do hook someone, they don't hear my terror radius. That's why I don't use the Oblivious status effect, because I know if they're going to be in my drones, because I'm doing a 3 kind of drone gen thing, I just know, you be Oblivious, I can use the add-on for something else instead of having an Oblivious add-on. Plus, if they do their Hex Totem, then I set up Hex Pentimento to make gens a lot slower. I know some people use Ruin instead of Plaything or something else, but again, I use this build because it just makes it slower, and then I put Overcharge. Again, it's a whole process, and it's super broken. The fact that they just can't do gens. But eventually, after 25 minutes, I won the game. But really, that's the biggest thing. The Skull Merchant is very good, the best killer in the entire game at guarding gens, and that's it. All you gotta do is set up on a 3-gen, have the perks to surround it, have the add-ons surround it. The add-ons I had were making drones last 10% longer, and making them come back faster, like letting me place them and pick them up faster and letting me get them back if they are destroyed. It's super dumb, super broken, and I think they need to fix it. Maybe by making the radius smaller. Maybe by making it not work. If you have it on 2 gens, it doesn't work on the 3rd one, so that you can stop a 3-gen from happening. Yes, the 3-gen will happen, but at least it stops you from getting the exposed status effect to be one shot. I don't know, but whatever they do, something's got to happen because this is stupidly broken. But anyways, hope you guys did enjoy nonetheless. Maybe leave a like, maybe leave a nice comment down below, maybe hit that subscribe button for saying the little bell, and I'll see you guys next time for some more Dead by Daylight. Bye, guys.